Again, we're going to be talking about divorce in Utah. The other issues that we have to concern ourselves with when we're talking about divorce is a division of property and a division of debt. And in the categories of property, I also like to address the issue of retirement benefits and alimony. To me, alimony is taking from one and giving it to another as far as cash. It's an asset, and therefore would go into this category. Utah uses what is called a fair and equitable standard for the division of property in the state of Utah. Fair and equitable can mean 50-50, or it can mean something other than that. It's what the parties can agree to, or what is fair and equitable. However, there are certain baselines or certain standards. For example, a home or a residential marital home that was acquired during the marriage. If there is equity in the home, the court will start with the premise that that equity should be divided equally between the parties. The question then is what is to be done with the home? Sometimes the home is awarded to one party. They would be obligated then for the monthly payments on that home, and more than likely they would have an obligation to refinance that home within a certain period of time, thus removing the other spouse's name from that mortgage. At the time of refinance, they would also have to refinance it for an amount sufficient to reimburse the other spouse for their half equity in that marital residence. Other assets, again, are just divided on a fair and equitable basis. Personal property, a lot of times one spouse gets one car, the other gets the other. If there is a debt on that car, it's going to follow that property, and that person who is awarded that particular piece of property is going to be responsible for that debt. Another big factor that needs to be considered is the division of retirement benefits. The division of retirement benefits was first addressed in the state of Utah back in the late 80s and early 1990s in a case known as Woodward versus Woodward, which basically holds that any retirement acquired during the marriage is subject to being divided. If all of the retirement was acquired during the marriage, then it would be divided equally. Otherwise, the formula for Woodward is you would take the years married and divide that by the years the individual has acquired those retirement benefits. That fraction indicates the amount which is subject to being divided between the two. And then that fraction again is divided in two, representing each person's share of that divisible retirement benefits. In order to secure that retirement, the person receiving would have to file what is called a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, or a QDRO, with the plan administrator, so that plan administrator can then divide the assets accordingly, or the retirement accordingly. The spouse receiving the Woodward share would create an account, and they can either keep it there or they could roll it over into a like or similar account, giving them access to their share of that retirement benefit. The other person who continues to work there after that division has been made, their retirement can continue to grow by future contributions which they would make, and have that not subject to the other spouse's potential of receiving that income. Lastly, we deal with the division of debt. Again, Utah uses a fair and equitable standard for the division of debt. That can mean 50-50, or it can mean something other than that. First of all, you have to determine what is the marital debt. Marital debt would be debt incurred during the marriage which was used for a family or household purpose, regardless of whose name it might actually be in. For example, many times a husband might have a credit card, but yet during that marriage he has paid for family vacations, he's maybe bought groceries, other things of that nature to help support the family. That would be considered as a marital debt, even though it is only in his name, and that debt could be divided on any kind of a percentage basis that the court would consider fair and equitable. Sometimes we see that the court divides that debt on the same basis that they calculate child support. They figure what each person's contribution is to the gross income, and that percentage is what they would pay of the debt. Other times, debt remains solely in the name of that person. They are responsible for that debt. I earlier talked about if a person is awarded a car or another piece of property which has debt attached to it, more than likely they will be responsible for that debt as it accompanies that piece of property. Those are the main things that we have to look at as far as the division of property and assets of the marriage, as well as debt. It can be complicated. We've tried to simplify it as much as possible. But each case is different, and nothing is better than seeking competent legal advice from an attorney who has experience. Should you need help with your divorce, feel free to contact me, Kevin Richards, at Richards & Godfrey. You can visit our website at richardsandgodfrey.com.